Hey guys, welcome to the top 25 of the last 25 years. Lucas De
We're getting
Silva,
in trouble.
who's in trouble?
We're getting in trouble. We're getting hooked on the Facebook.
We are, but you know what? So I think this.
Everything is going according to plan. The algorithm loves us right now.
I want everybody to know I didn't do this off the algorithm. Okay, I just want you to
I
know.
did.
Okay.
I did.
So one of the things actually that I thought was really, really important to talk about, and the reason I say this, the reason I bring this up is that I've noticed this repeatedly, and because I've now done this the 16 to 25 for Georgia and the 16 to 25 for Florida, and every single response. Oh, by the way, just so you know, I got an email from somebody in Florida that just said Greco doesn't count. That's all they wrote to me.
How about this? If you think Greco doesn't count, go talk to Maddie Singleton and the guys that are Greco guys.
I'm just telling you, man. Greco doesn't count. I got nothing else. I got nothing else. That's all I
And hey,
got.
watch this. I'm gonna piss people off because I want people to hear this. If you don't like Greco or you don't respect Greco, you don't love wrestling. You're an elitist and a pansy. Continue on.
Well, I have a problem with that, but we're not going to get into the whole Greco conversation.
But you should, because you're natural. Every match you wrestle is Greco.
Yeah, well, fat and slow and short arms. There we go. That's the way it works.
Yeah, which also, sidebar, I didn't realize that the first episode of the top 25 was our 50th, 50th episode. So
it was.
we made
Yeah,
50. Somehow we stayed on the air. I
we're
don't know how.
we're almost to my age.
Jesus, we got 28 more to go.
All right. So one of the things I noticed that I thought was really interesting that I think it's a natural thing for people to do, but I think that I think you got to be really careful doing it, and that is people like to single out, like, what about blank? What about Chase Horn? What about this person? What about this person? Why is that person not on your top 25 list? And what I would tell you is if you go through the process, and maybe you did, because we had 78 fans votes, so maybe you did. But if you did, you were only like one of 8 people that voted for Chase. Okay, number one out of 78. But that's not my point here. My point is that I had lots of kids who were right in there, and then I would go, oh yeah, well, what about that one? Well, where do I put him? And like you start putting people in, and it starts knocking people out. And when you only have 25 spaces, it's easy to get knocked out. Now, I cheated because I said that people who were still wrestling, right, who haven't really had their college careers yet, I purposely did not include them. And we're going to see that today with Maddie Singleton, who is going to be on your list and on the fans list, but isn't going to be on my list because while I think that he's a phenomenal wrestler, and if you went strictly by high school accolades and everything else, he's going to be there. But I'm waiting to be able to put him in my list.
I agree that it's cheating because it takes out a whole host of
guys.
It
does. It does. It does.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
But I do understand that point. I mean, for me, and I think it's different for me because a lot of my list is based on what I've seen and been around, that I kind of had to have some of these guys in the list for me because, like, there are guys that have wrestled that they beat me and they left an impact on me with the way they wrestled me that I had to put them there. Other guys maybe didn't. So that's where it was difficult for me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, and Mike Sievers brought up, Chase Horn, obviously, and Chase is unbelievably talented, obviously had an absolutely fantastic high school career, has not really made that jump yet, and I think he will at the collegiate level. But,
man, heavyweights are tough.
That's where I was going to go with that,
heavyweights are tough.
Right.
And I know the argument that is going to be that when I say this, I'm going to get you know what? To me, this is the same argument as Greco people. When they're like, oh, it's only Greco. Well, heavyweight Super 32 is not known as a elite event because of how small the bracket is, because most heavyweights are playing football, and a couple years ago they stopped doing the late weigh-in exemptions. So Super 32, hell of a feat. I don't have a belt. I have other belts. I don't have a Super 32 belt. Ryan Milhoff has two of them. Bo Bassett has three of them. Coselio has five of them. Chase Horn has one of them. But the belts mean different things at different weight classes. That's just the truth.
They do.
And
Yes.
and it's a sad truth because it almost paints a bad light on the heavyweight champions. And I disagree with that. Chase Horn was the best heavyweight in the country for a time. Fact. One Super 32, one news number one. Fact.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a tough list to get into.
It is a tough list to get into. And as we move to that, let's go ahead and do a recap of the list. I'm going to give the fans countdown from 25 to 14. Seth Larson, Quinn Campbell, Chase Horn, Denver Stonecheck, Thomas Bullard, Gavin Kane, Carrington Banks, Isaiah Royal, who I got cooked over, Cody Russell, Jackson Desario. That's where you and I stopped at 16. We included Jackson Smith and Chance McClure because they ended up on one of our two lists as well. They came out at 15 and 14 on the fans list. Your 25 to 16 were?
Oh, I thought you were going to sorry. Quinn Campbell, Chance McClure, Trevor Burdick, Dominic Bambinelli, Drew Gorman, Chris Rodriguez, Carrington Banks, Brandon Orm, Cody Russell, Gavin Kane.
And my 25 to 16 were Isaiah Royal, Brandon Orem, Jackson Desario, Jonathan Rivera, Justin Rivera, Carrington Banks, Tyler Askey, which again, we're going to talk about him in more detail this for this episode. Jackson Smith, who we're going to start with because he will make your list here in just a minute. Todd Small and Cody Russell. And let's start with Jackson Smith. You made a point in your last video that I put him too low. The fans put him too low. You put him at
number 9.
Number 9. So why number 9 for Jackson Smith?
So first off, accolades, Super 32 champ. He did it in high school, multiple-time high school state champion, was a 3-timer, would have been a 4-timer if not for injuries. Like, let's make that clear about Jackson. Injury bug got him a couple of times. Freshman year of high school was one of them. Super dominant in high school. I wrestled him in high school. I wrestled him all through youth and whatever. And I know high school only matters. But for me, I might go as far as say he might be the best wrestler I've ever put my hands on in terms of Georgia. He might be. He's the entire package. He's strong as hell. He's quick as hell. His understanding of wrestling is elite. His mat IQ is out of this world. And for me, I agree with you. In last video, you made the comment, he is Georgia's next national champion. I completely agree with you on that. I think he is the next one out of Georgia.
Yeah.
So that's my pick. I'll put him at 9. And I think, people are going to say it's too early to say that, like the old heads, like you're about to. But I think in 2-3 years, that number 9 spot might even be a little low.
So I said this in the last one, and that is Jackson is one of the few individuals on the list who is still moving up the list. In fact,
yeah.
If he doesn't, for me at 18 or whatever I have him at, if he doesn't qualify again, which would be very surprising to me, he's still at that spot until somebody comes in above him, right? Now he goes in and like All-Americans, which I fully expected him to do last year, and I definitely expect him to do this year and make a run for a title. Man, we're gonna be climbing that point. And you're in retrospect, I think if we were to look at this a year from now, your ranking is going to be more accurate than our ranking.
Which is why I wasn't mad at the fans as much, because theirs I think was a little better. Yours I think you were high, and that's fair. Look, what you do in your recreational time is not my business.
Thank you.
It's not my business.
Let's jump to number 15 on my list. And I was surprised. I'm not surprised, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm not surprised that he got no love from the fans. And you obviously were looking at my list from when I created it originally. But Dorian Henderson was a 4-time D1 qualifier for Missouri, a 3-time state champ. He only got 6 votes by the fans. And, it's tough, right?
I'll be honest. I'll show my age here. Dorian Henderson is a guy that when I first saw his name on your list, I was like, "Who's?" Respectfully to Mr. Henderson, I was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" But then as I thought back, I remember hearing the name like vaguely, like through circles, like just through, when I was younger, and my mom and I would look at state brackets or whatever the case may be, and I would hear the name, especially from the Columbus crew and that crew, kind of Southwest Georgia, and obviously a stud. And he was a 4-time D1 qualifier. That puts it a little differently for me, but I will say this is one I'll give you. I was not familiar with his work. I'll give you this one. This one, absolutely. This one's you.
It's all good. The truth is, we put emphasis on different things. I think that the fans have a tendency to put an emphasis on their high school accolades. Like that weighs more, unless you're a Caleb Henson who wins a national title and now you kind of vault and it becomes a thing.
Oh no!
Otherwise, I don't think the fans are paying attention.
I'm convinced the fans' vote was based on who is their coach, who coaches them, and are they and do they go to my club? I'm convinced, because I bet if I look at these lists and you don't tell me who made what list, I bet I could pin where these people are from each list. I bet I could do it pretty accurately.
Well, I didn't ask any names. I didn't ask them to submit their names, and I didn't ask where they were from, and I didn't ask their age. But I would really like to look back at it.
You should have asked for location and age.
Yeah, that might have been fun.
Just for the sake of to see the science of it. But then you would have had people be asshats and be like, I'm 73 from Bogota, West Colombia. Like, and it would have been like, all right, there's no point. Like, this is stupid, but sorry.
Right. Why even have it in there when somebody's not gonna like whatever?
All right. Exactly.
So moving to 13 on your list and 13 on the fans vote. Who is 14 on your list? I'm sorry.
Isaiah Royal.
Okay. All right.
Who we talked about last
we already talked about. Good.
Well, we didn't talk about my 15. And is he later on the list? And we'll talk about him later.
He is later on your list because he comes in for me.
I'll shut up about him.
All right. So 13 on your list and the fans list is Bryce Carr.
Yep.
He did not make my list. So that, again, it makes it really hard.
Gerald Carr,
but I need to know.
Gerald Carr's got words and hands and feet for you.
I want to know why 13. We're not talking about I missed somebody who was like 22nd, right?
Yeah. For me, had a good high school career, had some national high school accolades, and then 2-time qualifier from Chattanooga, which means he basically had to win the SoCon to do that. And that says something, winning your conference, not getting in as a 3rd or a 4th, or if you're from the Big Ten, getting in as the 16th. Like winning that's a joke to a certain extent, ladies and gentlemen. Don't even think about it. But and as well, I put my hands on Bryce Carr, wrestle with him. Dude's a monster. Dude's really, really good at wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, dude's really good at the sport of wrestling.
Well, and wasn't Bryce a JUCO national champ? Isn't that right?
Might be. I don't have, and ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you, right? I got this nice little spreadsheet that Jason so graciously made for me, right? It doesn't have a lot of JUCO stuff on here. I'm sorry, because Quinn posted on Facebook, and Quinn, I love you, but
yes.
Sorry, I'm not an encyclopedia of JUCO wrestling statistics.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm just not.
So I missed Darton. I missed some information on Darton that I was told after I posted it. And the reason I posted like a month ago was to get people to tell me who I missed. That was the whole point.
I love these schmucks that we ask for information. They don't give us information. Then they tell us after we post a video. I love them. They're the best.
Well, I will say there were plenty of people who actually gave me information too that I did not update the spreadsheet. So
shout out to the ones that actually give us information. Shout out to them. It's love. You know the people I'm talking about.
All right. So coming in at number 12 on the fans vote. He did not make your vote or mine. Is Nate Carr Jr., three-time state champ, JUCO national champ at Iowa Central Community College. I don't have any other college accolades for Nate Carr Jr. That doesn't
Me
mean there
neither.
aren't any. Obviously, you know the name. Obviously, in 2004, 2005, 2006, during his high school career, he was an absolute monster. Um, and I mean, I don't have anything other than that. I don't know why I don't know why he was ranked by the fans higher than, say, I don't know, a whole number of individuals that fell below them. So, you
I
know,
kind of agree. Not, and this is one of those where I even thought about messaging Gerald and like trying to get some information on Nate Carr Jr. I know he was good because like he's around that era for me where like he was a coach as I was coming up and like in the scene, but I don't know enough. This is one of those where
yeah. So I'm going to give you an example. Somebody who ranked
oh,
him.
and wait. Because I had a certain someone who I love text me and say we used our ignorance as a crutch. Let me explain something to you, right? And this isn't as him at him because I love the dude, and me and him had a long discussion about it. So this isn't a shot at him, but it's a shot at some of these mongoloids online. Let me explain something. No. I'll say what I want, Jason. And if someone has a problem, y'all know where to find me. I'm not difficult to find. I'm in Royston, 10 toes down. Anyways, point being, y'all can't get mad at us when we do this and we do our best and we just can't find information. I'm sorry that there isn't a WrestleBrackets.com for JUCO conference championships and junior nationals from 2008. Sorry. I don't know. And if Jason doesn't know, then yes, it is that we're ignorant. And if you don't post it and tell us that, we can't know. It's the same problem I have with the idiots that are high school coaches that are like, how do you rank that team that when we beat him at random schmuck duels in Stars Mill, Georgia, and we don't know about it? Sorry. Oh well. Get you on the next list. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
So I will say, I want everybody to know, like, if you went to Matt Talk, the Matt Talk online, Jason Bryant's thing, he has a lot of information there. Um, but
shout out to Jason Bryan. He's
it is
awesome.
limited information. It has some incorrect information. Just by and I've been working to grab all of the historical information from for the state of Georgia, state of Florida, and state of Alabama for high schools since the beginning of wrestling began, or since wrestling began or was sanctioned in the state. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys right now. Okay, when I gather this information, okay, Lucas De Silva is Lucas De Silva, DeSilva. He's Luke DeSalva, right? He is Lucas DeSill, right? So,
Shout out Southern Scuffle one year that did that, or Southern Slam. Shout out Southern Slam.
so,
Love those are my guys, but love them. But
uh,
y'all did that to me one
so
year.
I'm telling you that it's not as if there's this repository of information and we just don't know how to actually look it up.
And I'll do you one better. It's not like, okay, so the more modern stuff, I get people maybe to a kind of extent being somewhat annoyed when stuff's on track.
If it's on track,
Gang,
then that's on us.
gang, you're asking me to have information from 2005. Do you understand I was still hanging on to my mother's teeth around that time? Like, do you understand that? Like, analog like media was still around prevalently. Like, what are we talking about? Like, I'm sorry, but like to a certain extent, kick rocks. To a certain extent. And I love all these people, right? I do, especially because some of them that get mad at us are actually my friends.
Yeah,
But it's like,
no,
come
I
on,
mean,
bro.
and
Like,
honestly, I
come
don't think
on.
anybody's mad. I think most people are
No,
just
I
like
think some of them
poke,
are. I
poke.
think some of them that have been posting on our Facebook are mad. A couple of them,
Ah, all right. So let's jump to
especially in Florida. You're getting cooked for Florida. You're getting cooked.
I am. So it's okay. So we're gonna move to your number 15. My number 14, not on the fans vote, which I don't get. Maybe
Oh,
there's some
hey,
maybe
hey,
they hate Union Grove, but Justin Ruffin for a period of time was one of the best wrestlers in the state of Georgia. I mean, I don't care what weight class it was.
fans, you got a lot of explaining to do, right? Like, I'm not even going to be an ass, but like, there's certain guys the fans have on their list that I think Justin would have tacked, like, without breaking a sweat.
Justin Ruffin it is crazy to me that he's not on the list, and he only got 8 votes. None or two of them,
How many?
8.
Hey, yo, what the,
And two
like,
of them were in the top 10. The rest were not in the others were not in the top 10. So
oh,
why
I'm so happy this happened.
Why is Justin Ruffin 15 for you?
Let me tell you something. I'm so happy this happened because I thought he was going to be high on the fans list and I was going to get cooked for having him 15th. I'm so happy this worked out this way. Yo, LA Ruffin, I got you back, LA. Don't even worry about it. I got him. Like, here's why injury bug got him, right? Let's
It
call that
did.
what it is. Health hurt him late in his career. But Justin Ruffin might be the single. Justin Ruffin's one of these guys that when I talk about great at the sport of wrestling, like elite, great all time at the sport. Justin Ruffin, Jackson Smith, Luan, who we'll talk about later. Like these guys are that type of guy. Justin Ruffin was one of them. Justin Ruffin was the great big boogeyman in Georgia for about 3 years, where if you spoke his name 3 times, he'd pop up in a high level bracket and whip you. Like,
That's
like
true.
like that's the truth. Like ask anyone that was in that union, like in that area of Georgia, you had to be real careful what tournaments you went to and what weight you went, or Justin Ruffin might pop up and
Well, and it
in
wasn't
the
even the
words of
state of
Cliff
Georgia.
Fretwell. Shout out Cliff. Powder, wipe it off. Unpowder knuckles first. I've been waiting to get that off in a video. Been waiting. Anyways.
So not even in the state, just the state of Georgia. I mean, like you went down to the knockout and you had Brevin
Oh
Balmaceda,
my God.
Justin
The
Ruffin,
greatest knockout bracket
Anthony
ever.
Artolona. Yes, you had the greatest knockout bracket ever.
He won the great, like, ladies and gentlemen, I was there for this. I watched this bracket live. He beat Anthony Artolonia in double overtime, then beat Brevin Balmaceda, and Brevin Balmaceda tried to fight him in the parking lot after. Because
I don't remember that.
His South Dade teammates had to hold him back from that back entrance because this is when it was still at the high school, and they put the big center mat in the gym. I remember this. Brevin was pissed. Like, and because Justin put a saddle on him in overtime and rode him out.
Lucas's memory is way better than mine, and he had way more access to certain things. I was probably paying attention to the 215
me and Cameron Fretwell were sitting on the mat. Me, Cameron Fretwell, and Gabe McDaniel were sitting on the mat watching it. Like right by the scorer's table. Shout out Cameron Fretwell and Gabe McDaniel. Shout out. Love those boys. But like, yo, the fans are on crack.
All right.
Like,
so
cocaine.
So let's move to the fans number 11, which you have at number 12, and I agree. Like, I mean, I've already said it before, and that is Matty Singleton. Matty almost actually made my list because he was a world team member in Greco at an age group level. So that's why he even almost made the list without his collegiate accolades. But I kind of was able to not include him because of my caveat or my asterisk, right? So I don't know why my dogs are losing it. Why Matty Singleton at 11 or 12?
For me, multiple time state champion, has the national accolades, Super 32 at the high school level, good Fargos a couple of times, I believe. Then he's an age level Greco world team member at NC State. I have a feeling he's going to do numbers for them, but most importantly, I went to war with this dude twice my senior year, and we were 1-1. In the knockout match, he took care of business. Like, call it what it is. He tilted me twice, and the match was over after the first period. It was valiant, my effort in the second and third period, but look, when you're wrestling a guy like Matty Singleton, he goes up 8-0 in the first period. It's going to be it's gonna be a bitch to come back. Like it's gonna be rough. Like let's just
Yeah.
call it what it is. And I love Matty. He's a great dude. He's a hell of a worker. Dude is so smart about wrestling. That's why he made the list for me.
Yeah. Well, and I can't say, I mean, like honestly, Maddie Singleton, like you said, is all those things. And I expect him right there. I look to this coming year for the state of Georgia wrestlers in
It's
D1,
gonna be real interesting.
and I'm really excited because I think that that crew that kind of graduated about that time, they're now getting to the point where they're gonna, make a split like the Singleton. Like so, Singleton was what, a year behind Henson and Jackson, or was he the same year as Henson?
Same year as them. He was a year behind me. I think
Year
Singleton
behind you.
graduated 2021.
Okay.
Give me a
Um.
second. I'll tell you right now. Sorry, he graduated 2022. You're right.
So it's one of those situations. It's going to be really interesting to see this. You know, the Georgians coming up this coming year and how they do and everything else. I think the sky's the limit personally. So all right, so let's go to my number 13 and wasn't on your list, wasn't on the fans list. And I am not sure why they weren't on your list or the fans list.
I'll say this now. This one I missed. This
David
one
Keith.
is, uh, uh, yeah, the key was a tough one for me. He was tough, and I'll admit that. He probably should have been on my list somewhere, especially because this is a dude that I've rolled with in practice rooms. Dude was tough. So I'll let you talk about David Keith. This one's on me.
Yeah.
Probably like he was in my mix. I had him in that, like I talked about that group from like 18 to 40 that could have been shuffled around. He was in that mix.
So for me, David was a difficult one because if you went simply by high school accolades, David Key would not have been the name at that weight that you would have necessarily. I mean, he was a two-time state champion. He was, I mean, a four-time state placer. So he wasn't, I mean, it's not as if he was not like a great high school wrestler, but there were a lot of wrestlers that you might have slotted above him if you simply went by high school accolades. Now, he went away to the Naval Academy, became a three-time D1 qualifier, and made the podium last year at 184 pounds as a D1 All American. It is hard to imagine somebody not making a list of the top 25. That's where I'll leave that. All
Yeah,
right.
no, and you're probably right.
So I want to go ahead and give out my number 12, which is Gavin Kane. We already talked about Gavin at the last one because the fans have him 20, you have 17. Um, for me, he's another individual who has a D1 All American, is right there in that group. I think this is kind of the right spot for him. Certainly another individual like Jackson Smith who could climb, because I think Gavin again could have an outstanding year coming up.
Yeah,
And if he makes the podium again or makes a run to being a runner up or a champ, and yeah, he's going to be way up there. So,
completely agree.
all right, let's move to number 10 on the list for the fans, number 9 on your list, number 10 on my list. I believe it's number 9 on your list. Maybe it's number 10 on your list. Daniel Bullard.
8.
8. Okay, 8 on your list. Daniel Bullard. So why don't you just give me a little bit about Daniel Bullard and why he made your list at 8?
I mean, Bullet for me, not obviously accolades for him. No, I mean, no lack of them. 4-time high school state champion, 4-time qualifier, All American twice. Well, one and a
Once,
half.
yeah.
One and a
So
half.
the reason we're saying 1.5, everybody, is that he was recognized in the COVID year because of his seed as being he would have been on the podium. But we all know that they didn't wrestle during the COVID NCAA Division I tournament, and we also know just because you've got a seed next to your name doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be on the podium. So that's why we're saying 1.5. Sorry.
Yeah. So beyond his accolades, which speak for themselves, for me, I went to Collins Hill in Lawrenceville. I was around the time around when the Bullards were running roughshod over what was 5, 6 at the time.
6A.
Sure, we'll go with that.
6A.
They were running roughshod over 5A and 6A, and Daniel Bullard was spoken about like Thor Odinson for a little while there. So that for me is what did it. Now I will say, Thomas is off my list. I'm gonna call it a clerical F up on my part. Thomas would be on the list. No, I'm being honest. Like part of this list I wrote on paper, ladies and gentlemen. Like part of it I wrote, and I think by doing the whole last name gimmick, because to save space on paper, I would do like T Bullard, D Bullard.
Or he was just lazy and just put Bullard.
Very possible, right? That could have happened. Like I completely admit that could have happened. So Thomas Bullard, apologies to you, but he should be on my list. Daniel's in my list at number 8. Thomas wouldn't be too far.
All right,
behind
so
him.
let me ask you. Well, actually, let me ask you that question. Right. So if Daniel's gonna be 8 on your list, are you putting Thomas above or below?
I probably right below.
All right.
Maybe like 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range.
Okay. So Thomas is a 5-time Division One qualifier, right? Because he had that COVID year. He came back, was a 4-time state champion, just like his brother. Again, if you were around during that time in the state of Georgia, the Bullards, like Lucas said with Justin Ruffin earlier, they struck fear into 150, 155, 160 pounders in the state of
I
Georgia
think the
during that time.
Bullards might just be this. When it comes to like aura and energy, I think the Bullards were the scariest guys in the history of Georgia. I don't know if anyone was scarier in Georgia in their era. Like,
Whew. Yeah, they were tough.
like, man, like I know there was a little while when Jackson, for instance, watching the Woodland Three, Jax, Caleb, and Caden, that little Three Musketeers scared every team in the state. Yeah, like just Daniel Bullard, super duper tough, deserving of the list. Thomas also deserving of the list. I'll eat that one. That's on me. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, he will eat that one because yeah, no doubt.
So,
All right.
you know, it's funny when we talked about the list on the first episode, we said that we would talk about Thomas Bullard later.
I know. And you were all upset because the fans put him at 21, and you're like, that's blasphemy.
Oh, because they're high.
I know, but you forgot him.
Forgot and did put are two very different verbs.
All right,
Yeah.
let's move. So where does Brooks Clemens fit on your list?
Brooks for me is number 11.
Number 11. All right. And he is number 9 on the fans vote. And you know what? I do not have him on my list.
Which I'm not mad at you for. I get it.
And if we're simply talking accolades, I don't know. I mean, obviously an NAIA All-American, right? Obviously,
not too much on the NAIA now. Not too much. Not too much.
What?
That's where I All-American. Not too much on the NAIA.
I
not
know. It's just one of those things. We actually on the Florida when we got into a discussion as it related to how you equate NAIA to Division One and whether a Division One qualifier is I don't know, stronger or better than an NAIA champion. We talked a little bit about it last time as well. It's not an easy thing, right?
No,
it's pretty difficult.
Easy.
And there are people who go to NAIA, wrestlers that go to NAIA or Division Two or Division Three, because that's where they fit in. That's where, for college, that's where it was best for them to be. Yes.
I throw my hand up. No,
yeah, Lucas.
That was me. Because, hey, 2 reasons, right? I'm keeping it a buck. Grades are easier in the NAIA, and NAIA schools can give you more money. Just calling it what it is. That's the truth.
Maybe
And
not
there's
now.
more. Yeah, probably not now. My era, my era. Hey, watch this. I get to be the old guy. Back in my day, and the other thing is more NAIAs in the Southeast, so you'll see a lot of Georgia guys go to NAIAs because they're closer to home.
Yeah, and they
So
are, right? I mean, and I mean, look, if you're talking about NAIA with Reinhardt and Life and Emmanuel's Division Two, but you're looking at Brune Parker, you're talking about a number of different things, programs throughout the Southeast. NAIA is strong down here, and it's close to home. I mean, it's not as if you have to travel very far to wrestle in college, if you go a different classification than say D1. So
yeah,
that's something to
well,
keep in
which
mind.
I understand. So that's my like.
So
It's
why
absolutely
why Brooks though at 11?
so. Has some high school accolades. I want to say he was a preseason nationals champ in high school when it was a bigger deal than it is now, where it's. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna shut up. Anyways, um, money grab. Anyways, um, but as well a really good wrestler, college All American, and he's put hands on me. Felt him. Dude can wrestle like that. And again, he has the aura of that. Like if you talk to the older guys from that generation, Brooks Clemens' name always gets brought up as
Well,
someone that was underrated or
there is no
underlooked at.
doubt he has something because he received 33% of the people who voted out of the 78 votes. 26 people voted him somewhere, and 12 people put him either number one or number two on their
Well,
list.
well, it's good to see his club kids voting. It's good to see. He's not one like, and I love Brooks. He's not 1 and 2. He's not. He's just not.
Right. Right. Well, I feel like because he was put so high on some lists, I'm thinking to myself, man, am I like, did I not? I mean, going back to the ignorance, as a crutch thing, did I miss something? Did I
I
miss?
mean, we might have, but like as far
I
as
might
I
have.
know, NAIA All American. I'm trying to think if there were like I don't know. Did he go to a JUCO before or after Brune Parker? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Let me see if I know that.
So, so yes, coach, my ignorance is my crutch. Yes, deal with it. Ugh.
Coach. Oh, it was a
Coach
coach.
beep. I'm not
Okay.
throwing him. I'm not putting him. I'm not throwing him under the bus because I love the dude.
All
But
right. Well, two-time state champ, one time or three-time finalist. So there you go. All right. So we now come to my number 11 on the list, and you're gonna go who?
no, I know this guy. I
You,
know of him.
Michael Keefe,
I
right?
know the name.
So I just
I'm
want to
not as
give I want to give everybody some context of Michael Keefe, and maybe I'm wrong again, but I'm pretty sure if I've gathered the data correctly, he is a three-time D1 qualifier, a one-time D1 All-American, 141 pounds, took fifth, I believe, was a two-time state champion. But for me, he was the individual. He was only Georgia's ever three. He was the Georgia's third ever three-time D1 qualifier. And you have to go back to the 1960s for the first, Charlie Hurd being the number two in the 80s, and Michael Keith. So, so we're talking about a trailblazer here who made the D1 podium, not just a trailblazer to like show the path, but also made the podium. And I think he just took over the head job at Dalton Academy. I could be wrong though.
mm,
So, anyway, that is why I have Michael Keefe on my list. The fans do not. Lucas does not.
he was in my list to get in there. I'll say that much. He was there. He was in the hunt.
All right. So I think I've captured most of the number 15 to number 10. Did I miss one of yours though? 15 to 10?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So let's move to, we've already done Thomas Bullard. Let's do Ryan Milhoff. And we just have just a few more names for this show. Milhoff comes in on the fans vote at number 8. He is number 4 on your list. He is number 9 on my list. honestly, we get into this area of the list, and I slot somebody a little bit higher, you slot somebody a little higher, but we're pretty much in agreement that this is a consensus top 10 person. You
Yeah.
have him as a top five person.
Yeah.
Why?
You want to talk about high school accolades? Two-time Super 32 champion, I believe one Powerade, and one of the other ones, I could be wrong.
Was
Three
Powerade even a
times,
tournament back then?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Anyways, it might not actually, it might be Beast of the East.
Yeah, I don't know that I don't know that Powerade was much of a tournament in 2000, what, 12, 13?
13.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyways, I know he won one of the other big high school, it might be Flow Nationals, actually.
Okay.
Whatever. As another high school accolade that's important to his name, three-time state champion. The only reason he's not four-timer is because he lost to Sean Russell, who would go on to be his teammate through the rest of his high school career. College All-American, went to Arizona State, or Oklahoma first, then Arizona State. I mean, dude's a hammer.
He is a hammer.
Now part of the group coaching at GAC.
So I just looked this up to let you know that, yes, Powerade has always been or has been around for a long time. To be fair to me, I believe that the name has actually changed on
Possibly.
the
That's possible.
name. But I don't know if Ryan Milhoff was a champ or not. I'd have to go and do some serious looking. Anyway, yeah, Milhoff, Milhoff was just a stud, right? I mean, if you were at that level, we're talking about three-time D1 qualifier,
I mean, yeah,
NCAA
and dude
Division
was a hammer.
All-American. He What's interesting, I was actually looking through the fans vote. He got 27 votes. Brooks Clemens got 26 votes, right? No one had Milhoff number one or number two. Clemens got a lot of number ones and number two. And only four people out of 27 people had Milhoff and Clemens on their lists. So you can see that we're all not in agreement here.
No.
We're kind of all over the place. And I want to post everybody's list, but I don't want to I'm not outing anyone, but it is funny if you were to go through the lists,
I
you
want to see these lists. Oh, no. I want to see these damn lists. Send me the email. I want to see them. Because I want to go on my Instagram story and I want to post these, right? And I want to ridicule them. Because some of these, the lists you're telling me, they're not making sense. And I need to see this so that I could believe it.
well, I'll have to do some work to pull them down, but yeah, it's because right now I just have counts. I don't have like all the names in a row,
I get what
and
you're
all that.
saying. Okay.
All right. All right. So let's go to our last two for this show. And that is Tyler Askey, who comes in number 7 on the fans vote, number 7 in your vote. I already had him on my list much higher. You talked about him just briefly last time. And Askey was one of those individuals that, I mean, as far as the fans go, I mean, he was number 1 or number 2 on a lot of people's votes, if people who voted because of those high school accolades. Am I wrong?
That's a lot of it. I mean, especially for me, it comes from being around like youth when he was running through high school and having all this national success in high school before going to UVA. I mean, and then as well, just the aura of him. Like again, he was one of those guys that struck fear. Tyler Askey, especially that South and West Georgia crew, he's one of their dogs.
Yeah. All right. Our final individual, and you're going to notice some blanks in some of Scrappy's because there's no number 8, I believe, or number. I'm trying to figure out what number it is. There's a number that is not that will not be populated because we're going to talk about that individual in the next show because he happens to be populated higher for the fans and myself. But we'll go with our last one being Joey Laser.
Joey Laser, so tough. So tough.
Yeah. So 6 by the fans, 5 by Lucas, number 7 by me, 2-time D1 qualifier, 2-time D1 All American, 2-time state champion, Union Grove, right? I believe.
Yes.
So I'm not sure how Justin Ruffin doesn't get any love from the fans, the Union
Me
Grove
neither.
people, but
This is what
Joey
I don't get.
does.
Like this is where I start getting confused at the fans.
But
But yeah.
Joey went to the University, what, Northern Iowa, I believe it was.
Mhm.
Um, and for a period of time was like one of the best in the country at D1.
Yeah. I mean, dude was an animal. I mean, he's just one where I'm like, I don't like, not saying there's not much to say, but I mean, there's not much argument. Dude's a top 10. Dude was right on that cusp for me. And again, he was part of that era that I was around and heard the stories about Joey Laser and like how good he was. So that also helped out. And I've been in rooms with him. I've watched him go to work.
Yeah. And and I put down that Joey was a 2-time D1 All American. He might have been just a 1-time D1 All American. But regardless, for the University of Northern Iowa, whether he was a 2-time D1 All American or not, I mean, we're talking about eighth at Cliff Keen, right? I mean, we're talking about just wins over in college over just some absolute hammers. He finished his Northern Iowa career with 86 Division 1 wins.
Jesus. Jesus.
Okay. So whether I'm wrong about the 2-time or not, we're talking about an individual that had an absolutely great collegiate career. All right. So that is this week's show, heading down to the top 5. And I think we have 6 names left. I'm not 100% sure because it depends on whether it's the fans' vote or Lucas's vote or my vote. But you can tune in next week to find out where we put some of these individuals. And yeah, we're not in agreement on who is number 1.
No, we're not. And I'm okay with that. You can be wrong.
Oh, I'm so not wrong. I am
You
so
are.
I am so not wrong, and everybody's gonna agree with me on
I'll
this
give you
one.
a hint, ladies and gentlemen. This might help you figure out who's number 1. That might help you
Yeah,
figure it out.
not a chance. But anyway,
Yes, a chance. He called. All right.
all right, all right. You know what? We're gonna get to this later. All right.
We'll get
We'll
there later.
we'll
Yeah.
we'll, we'll wait for one more show before we make that happen. All right, Lucas. Anything to add before we kick it to next week?
Not really. Other than the fans are high. We'll leave it there.
Yeah, the fans. It there's some I'm questionable things, but you know what? There are questionable things. They think there are questionable things on ours as well. So whatever.
That's fair.
All right, guys, take care, and we will see you next week.
Peace.